Hi, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Got a Story for You. I'm Phil Junta, your host, writer, and sometimes story narrator on this channel. Happy New Year to you. It's January 23rd. It's a Friday as I record this. I meant to do it sooner, but I had a bit of a rough start to my year. I had an arthritic flare up in my right knee, which was debilitating for about 3 or 4 days. And I was finally up and around by around the 10th of January, but had to get caught up on things, life, and everything else in general, some writing projects and whatnot. But I'm here now to give you a few quick updates on some things. First and foremost, if you're in the northeastern part of the country of the United States, be careful this weekend. We're getting a snowmageddon, about 15 to 20 inches of snow headed our way in the Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland area, etc., and probably points north of that as well. So if you're in that area, please be careful. I do not look forward to being out there clearing snow yet again because we just had about 6 or 7 inches last weekend. So um, I hate winter. I really do. I really hate winter. It's not my favorite season. But there are some cool things about winter, and one of them is, let me share my screen with you. It is Farpoint convention, science fiction convention. Next weekend, January 30th to February 1st, I will be an author guest there, along with all of these fantastic people that you see listed here in these various screens, some of whom are relatively new to Farpoint, some are uh, repeat offenders for the past 30 some years since Farpoint was founded. There's my ugly mug right there. Happy to be in the company of these amazing creatives and these amazing writers. Always happy to be part of this community. But that's January 30th to February 1st next weekend, which so far looks like clear and sunny weather. Thank God. Um, but I look forward to being there. This is their Facebook page where they have a more complete list of all the writer guests. But here, back on their website, we can see some of their headline guests. Jess Bush from Strange New Worlds, Ross Marquand from The Walking Dead, X-Men 97, David Gerrold, longtime writer, probably has a 60-year career now. He wrote The Trouble with Tribbles for the original Star Trek. He worked on Star Trek Next Generation's first season, but in between all that has written Nebula and Hugo Award-winning novels and other award-winning novels of science fiction and fantasy. He's one of my favorite writers. Had the pleasure of driving him to dinner last year at Farpoint, where we talked about uh, writing in general, but also some of our favorite science fiction writers of yesteryear, Harlan Ellison. David was very close friends with Harlan. We talked Murray Leinster and Heinlein, and we had just a wonderful conversation. Justina Ireland, best-selling SF and fantasy author, will be with us at Farpoint. Jeff Klein, writer and publisher at Darby Pop Publishing. I have a friend of mine, Scott Barnett, who's a comic book artist, and he had a comic book called Dead Man's Party, published with Darby Pop. Scott was also the cover artist on the second editions of my novels, Testing a Prisoner and By Your Side. He will also be the cover artist on the second edition of my third novel, Like Mother Like Daughters. These are all paranormal mysteries. I am currently writing a sequel to Like Mother Like Daughters and plan to have both of them in one book, one sort of omnibus edition. You get both stories in one whenever I get that finished, which I hope will be next year. And Refashion Hippie is a social media creator, YouTube on YouTube and Instagram. These are the headline guests that will be joining us at Farpoint. Again, this is next weekend, January 30th, February 1st, at the Sheraton Baltimore Hotel in Towson, which, if you're familiar with that, with the convention scene in Maryland over the past 30 some years, you might recall this was the Sheraton Baltimore Hotel was the home of Volcon, science fiction Star Trek convention that was there at least once, or if not twice a year, for many years. So that's where I'll be next weekend doing discussion panels, hanging out with the other writers, walking around, wandering around the dealer room and other parts of the convention. And I think I'm signing books around 3 o'clock on Saturday in their book signing area. I'll have my schedule up on my website soon, and I'll have links to Farpoint and to my website and other things in the notes below the show. So that's Farpoint next weekend. Another thing to update you on is this book that I will be releasing in June called Dreams from the Edge of Reality. It's 27 frightening, funny, and fantastic tales, most of which are reprints. This is a gathering of most of my short stories from the past 15, 16 years. There are a couple stories in here, I think two, that have never seen publication before. One is a flash fiction story, and the other is a modern day Sherlock Holmes tale, sort of a comedy. But the rest have all been are all reprints. They've been published in various anthologies and magazines over the years. I've gathered them in this book that will be out in June. Um, the only stories not in this book will be my science fiction and space opera stories, because since they all take place in the same part of the galaxy, I'm going to release those in their own collection separately next year. But for now, this book will contain paranormal stories, fantasy, some mystery and detective, as well as a few literary pieces. And again, it's about a 400-page book, and it will be premiering. Well, there'll be a limited premiere at the Lehigh Valley Comic Con in Allentown, Pennsylvania, June 6th and 7th. It's their 25th anniversary. I have two tables at this show, and I'm looking forward to it. I'll have a link to this show in the notes as well down below, so you can go check it out. It's a fun show to do. Typically, their shows are one-day shows, but for their 25th anniversary, it's a big 2-day anniversary celebration. So that I'll have a limited number of copies of Dreams from the Edge of Reality here, but the big launch will happen at Shore Leave. Let me just go back to the beginning here of Shore Leave 46 in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, a month later, July 10th to the 12th. This is a big show that I've been doing for years, just like Farpoint, long before I was an author and being invited as an author guest. I was going to these shows to get autographs from the celebrities and to hang out with like-minded science fiction nerds and fantasy nerds like me. So their celebrity guests this year include quite a lineup: Stargate Atlantis and Star Trek and The Mummy and Babylon 5 and classic Battlestar Galactica and Lost in Space and some classic Trek guest stars. So good stuff, and there's still more guests to be announced. So stay tuned. If you're a science fiction geek and you're in the area and you haven't done Shore Leave, you should. It's a lot of fun. So this is where, at this show, is where I tend to have the big launch for Dreams from the Edge of Reality here. We have a number of author guests at this show. You'll see some familiar faces from Farpoint, and as well as some other people. I've known most of these people for many, many years, some better than others. Some are good friends. And it's just a joy to be part of this community. There's David Gerald again, as I mentioned earlier. Just a joy to be part of this community. And I know I'm in the right place whenever I hang out with these people, and I feel like I'm part of something great. So always happy to be writing, happy to be publishing, happy to be with these folks year after year. And I've been in anthologies with many of these folks as well. Many of these writers have either published me or have been in books with me. So it's always nice to have that community. So these two conventions, Shore Leave and Lehigh Valley Comic Con, June and July, we'll see the premiere of this book, Dreams from the Edge of Reality. The last thing I have for you, or one of the last two things I have for you, is a publisher that I've worked with twice before. I love working with them. They're a small press based out of Delaware called Oddity Prodigy Productions. Try saying that 5 times fast. Oddity Prodigy Productions. Love these folks. They're great writers, great editors, great artists. I've had stories published with them in 2 of their previous anthologies, the first of which was Scary Stuff in 2020. This is a horror anthology that pays homage to Tales from the Crypt, Haunt of Fear, Vault of Horror, from the old EC comics from the 1960s. I believe that's 60s or 50s. And they did an homage to that called Scary Stuff. And that was their first genre anthology. And then they went on to do urban fantasy. I did not have a story in this one. I do have a story in Bright Mirror, which is a science fiction utopian anthology. So it's stories of promise, of a brighter future, as opposed to all the dystopian science fiction that is out there, and I think the one that we're living in right now. But this offers much more happier, promising science fiction stories. They just released most recently Where Legends Walk. This is their superhero anthology. I did not have a story in that. Just couldn't get around to it. And then one of their members, Jacob Jones Goldstein, published his first novel called The Change. That's his debut novel last year. So wonderful team to work with. Well, guess what? They just decided that their next genre was going to be sword and sorcery, which I'd never written before, but I wanted to. So this gave me the opportunity to write what turned out to be a wonderful sword and sorcery story for their Tales of Steel and Sorcery anthology. Submissions ended the 31st. I got my story in on the 25th. On Christmas Day. It was accepted as of this week. Very pleased about that. And the next step for them, as always, will be their Kickstarter campaign, as you see here. Once they have all their writers lined up, they use that as part of their promotion for their Kickstarter, and they've had a lot of success with their crowdfunding campaign. So I'm looking forward to this. And the book probably, if past experience is any judge, it'll probably be a summer premiere, late spring, early summer premiere, somewhere around there. Don't quote me on that. I'm just thinking about past experience with them, but it may be out around the same time as I'm launching Dreams from the Edge of Reality. So that'll be could be a fun summer. A lot of good books coming out. So that's it for my status. But I did want to bring you up to speed on some books that I've read recently that you might enjoy if you're a science fiction nerd. So at PhilCon 2024, I was in the dealer. We were launching an anthology there, time travel anthology. And I love PhilCon. It has one of the best dealer rooms for books, both newer and used books and whatnot. It's absolutely wonderful, and reprints. So I stumbled upon 5 books from the SF Masterworks series. Masterworks series by Golan's Press. I think they're in the UK. And I picked up all 5 of these because they all just piqued my interest immediately based on the fact that I read some of these in a previous edition many years ago and lost them, or just because I love the writers of these. And the first I read was Alfred Bester's The Demolished Man. If you're into classic science fiction, as I am, you've read this book, I'm sure. I read it many, many years ago. That was high school, but I lost that edition that I had. It was a beat up old paperback. So I was happy to pick this up again. It's a story about a corporate executive who offers a merger to another corporate executive. When the message comes back, he misinterprets it as denying his request, and enraged, he goes and commits murder, killing the other CEO. But there's a witness, and to make matters worse, a lot of people in this future time frame, this alternate reality, if you will, have telepathy and are able to read minds, including the police. So he's got his work cut out for him trying to escape custody. And it's a great, great, fantastic police story, science fiction story, and just moral tale in general. And of course, Alfred Bester's a brilliant writer. So great book, The Demolished Man. After that, I read another classic that you probably know called The Man Who Fell to Earth by Walter Tevis, story about an alien who comes to Earth, learns our customs, our culture here, and especially capitalism, and quickly becomes a rich, wealthy corporate executive who owns many businesses and is trying to build a spaceship to bring the rest of his people to Earth, not to invade, but just for a better life, because their planet has been all but destroyed. There's almost no water left. So he's trying to bring them here to save them. And it's a wonderful, beautifully written story. And of course, he has many obstacles to overcome, including our gravity and our air, and as well as just trying to get this ship built. So it's just a beautiful story. The Man Who Fell to Earth. I believe there was a movie starring David Bowie that kind of strayed a bit from the novel many, many years ago, but you might have heard of that film as well. The last book I read in this series was Roger Zelazny's Road Marks. This is a story about a guy named Red who travels a highway through time, and the various exits are various centuries you can get off. And he attempts to try and change history for the better in some places, but is constantly stopped by the time police on the highway. He's constantly being pulled over. But he has a falling out with a business partner who then takes out a contract on him called a Black Decade. A Black Decade is where you have 10 assassins who try to kill you one at a time. One fails, the next one shows up. That one fails, etc. The next one shows up. Great story, absolutely wonderful, fast-paced. The ending goes a little bit off the rails, or should I say off the road. a little bit toward the end, but it's otherwise a very entertaining story. Absolutely fantastic. So the fourth one in Masterwork series that I just started reading is Theodore Sturgeon's More Than Human. I'm only like 12 pages into it, just started reading it. But I look forward to it because Ted Sturgeon was, again, a brilliant writer, absolutely fantastic, one of my favorites. And the fifth one that I purchased because I'm a big Robert Silverberg fan is A Time of Changes, which I look forward to reading after More Than Human by Ted Sturgeon. So those are, some of the books that I'm working through right now, reading and enjoying. And I will have, I'll put the titles in the notes below as well. So that's all I have. I'm done. I don't have any other news for you or any other updates. That's it. So again, if you're in the northeast part of the country, be safe this Sunday with the snow coming. And if you're going to be at Farpoint next weekend, I'll see you there. If not, hopefully at another convention. And I appreciate all your support for this little independent small press writer that I am. I appreciate all your support. And see you next month, I hope. All right, take care. Bye.